Welcome to Mindfully Integrative Podcast with your host, Dr. Damaris G. Mindfully Integrative is a podcast discussing ways toward mindfully incorporating integrative health into our lives. This podcast will have informative resources, fun topics, interviews, and discussions relatable for today with a true mindful perspective in a mind-body, holistic life approach.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always happy to be back.
This time we're tackling a topic that I have a feeling hits home for a lot of our listeners. Parenting kids, specifically kids with ADHD and learning differences.
Right.
We've got Dr. Damaris Grossman's book, Parenting with Patience, as our guide. And let me tell you, there's so many practical strategies in here, not just for the kids, but for the whole family to use.
Yeah, it's fascinating how often this comes up, you know? And yet I think there are still so many misconceptions about ADHD and learning disabilities. And what we're hoping to do today is really unpack some of those actionable takeaways in Dr. Grossman's book and hopefully offer a few aha moments.
I love it. Okay, so before we get into all that, let's just start basic. When we talk about ADHD and learning disabilities, what are we talking about?
So think about it this way. Imagine your brain is like a web browser.
Okay.
With ADHD, it's like having like 20 tabs open.
Okay.
Videos playing on all of them, pop-up ads galore, and focus and impulse control, they've left the chat.
They're gone.
Now, learning disabilities are a different beast altogether. They affect how your brain processes information.
Okay.
So take dyslexia, for example. Reading becomes like a real uphill battle.
Yeah.
But And here's where it gets really tricky.
Right.
ADHD and learning disabilities often go hand in hand.
Right.
And that means that families are navigating multiple challenges.
Oh, absolutely. And that actually is a perfect segue into why Dr. Grossman's emphasis on structure is so important. And it's one of those things that seems very simple on the surface, but when you're dealing with these challenges, it makes a world of difference.
Absolutely. It's, imagine you're trying to build a house, right?
Right.
But you don't have a blueprint. You don't have any foundation.
Right.
That's what it's like for a child with ADHD to try to navigate their day without structure.
Wow. Yeah.
So it just creates this sense of chaos and unpredictability, which of course just fuels anxiety and makes it incredibly hard to function.
So it's about creating that stability and predictability. And in the book, she talks about visual schedules being really, really helpful.
Yes.
It's like having a roadmap for your day.
Exactly. Visual schedules, designated workspaces, even something as simple as breaking down tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks. These are all ways of creating those essential structures that allow kids with ADHD to thrive. Just to give you an example.
Yeah, give me an example, yeah.
Let's say your child has to tidy their room, which can feel like this utterly insurmountable task.
Oh, I know, right.
So instead of just saying, clean your room, you could break it down. First, let's put away all the clothes. Then we'll tackle the toys. And finally, we'll make sure all the books are back on the shelf.
Yes.
It's just breaking it down.
It's manageable.
Exactly.
And you know what? That makes me think that this applies not just to kids, but to us as parents, too. I mean, we're juggling a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where Dr. Grossman's emphasis on seeking support really resonates.
Okay.
She's a big advocate for both professional help, but also the power of support groups. And it's not about admitting defeat. It's just recognizing that you don't have to go through this alone.
It really is. It takes a village. Speaking of things that can help, I was really intrigued by the section on multisensory learning.
Yes.
And I know we've touched on this in other deep dives.
Right.
But just to kind of remind everybody what that is and how it applies here.
Yeah, so multisensory learning is really about engaging multiple senses at once. So sight, sound, touch, even movement.
Yeah.
And think about when we were kids and learning felt more like playing. We were building with blocks, drawing with finger paints, singing along to our ABCs.
Oh.
That's multisensory learning in action. And it's not just for kids either.
Well, and I'm right there with you. I'm a very visual learner.
Sure.
Like, give me all the colorful diagrams, give me the mind map.
Right.
But how does this help, kids specifically with ADHD and dyslexia?
For kids who learn and think differently, those traditional teaching methods, sitting still, listening to a lecture, reading silently,
right,
those can be a recipe for disengagement and frustration.
Yeah.
Multisensory learning kind of flips the script. that makes learning active, engaging, and most importantly, memorable.
Okay.
So, think about teaching spelling words. Instead of just rote memorization, imagine having your child write the words in shaving cream or create them out of Play-Doh.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, suddenly spelling practice becomes a sensory experience, not a chore.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that actually ties into another thing that she emphasizes, which is time management.
Yes.
And time management is something I think we could all, use a little help with.
Yes.
But it's sparingly crucial, for individuals with ADHD.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that Dr. Grossman kind of challenges that traditional notion of rigid scheduling, which so often backfires for people with ADHD. And instead, she really advocates for a more flexible and adaptable approach.
Okay.
So think visual timers, color-coded calendars, breaking down tasks into those smaller chunks and celebrating those small wins along the way.
Oh, I love that. Celebrating the small wins. Because, it's so easy to get caught up in that big picture.
Yes.
And forget to just acknowledge those little victories.
Right.
That really do make a difference.
Exactly.
And it makes me think about the importance of self-care.
Yes.
Which she also talks about in the book. Because, let's face it, parenting a child with ADHD learning differences, it's demanding.
It is.
Emotionally, physically.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? I mean, and you can't pour from an empty cup. And I think one of the valuable takeaways from Dr. Grossman's book is this permission that she gives parents to prioritize their own well-being.
Okay.
And it's not selfish, it's essential.
Right.
And she talks about the importance of sleep, nutrition, exercise, those foundational pillars of self-care that we often neglect.
We do. We let it slide.
Yes. When we're caught up in the whirlwind of daily life.
Yes.
But, it's not just about checking those boxes off a to-do list.
Right. It's about finding what truly nourishes you.
Yes.
Whether that is, a hot bath, a walk in nature, 10 minutes of quiet time with a cup of tea.
Exactly. It's about tuning into your own needs and giving yourself permission to recharge and replenish.
Yeah.
Because when you're feeling depleted, it's just that much harder to show up as the patient, present parent that you strive to be.
That's right.
And speaking of being present, Dr. Grossman delves into some fascinating holistic approaches that can be incredibly beneficial for managing ADHD symptoms and just boosting overall well-being.
Yeah. The whole section on mindfulness, meditation, yoga.
Yes.
I'll admit, I was a little skeptical at first.
Sure.
I tend to think of those as things that you do, when you go to like a retreat or something like that.
Right.
Not necessarily tools for everyday life, but she makes a really compelling argument for how they can be incorporated.
Yeah, and it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, mindfulness is all about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's like training a muscle. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to direct your attention where you want it to go.
Okay.
And for kids with ADHD who often struggle with focus and impulse control, mindfulness can be a game changer.
It's like giving them a toolkit to manage all those racing thoughts.
Exactly. And meditation goes hand in hand with mindfulness. It's about creating that space for stillness, quiet contemplation.
Right.
Which can be so calming and grounding.
Especially in our world.
Oh, absolutely. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, it's so important.
Yeah, it's so needed. It's funny, I've talked to a lot of parents who say, even just 5 minutes of guided meditation with your kids, maybe before bed, makes a world of difference.
Absolutely.
It helps everybody kind of unwind.
Yes. And then there's yoga, which combines, those physical benefits of exercise with the mental and emotional benefits of mindfulness and deep breathing.
And, speaking of exercise, I remember reading a study that found that even a short burst of physical activity can have a huge impact on focus and attention for kids with ADHD.
Oh, absolutely.
Like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And beyond the physical benefits, exercise releases endorphins,
Right, those feel-good chemicals.
Yes, those feel-good chemicals that have mood-boosting and stress-reducing effects.
Yeah, we need more of those.
Absolutely. So, whether it's yoga, swimming, dancing, or just playing tag in the park, encouraging movement and physical activity is so essential.
Oh, important. So important. And all of this kind of ties back to her emphasis on building confidence from within.
Yes.
Because it's not just about managing the symptoms, it's about helping these kids thrive.
Exactly. And that starts with reframing how we view success, both for ourselves and our children. Dr. Grossman really encourages parents to help their kids embrace imperfection.
Oh, that's so important.
Yes. It's about celebrating those small victories, no matter how seemingly insignificant, and focusing on progress, not perfection.
Because when you're striving for perfection, you're just setting yourself up, I think, to feel defeated.
Exactly. And that's where fostering self-compassion comes in. It's about treating ourselves and our children with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a dear friend.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that we all have our strengths and weaknesses and that making mistakes is just part of being human.
Right.
And when we can approach ourselves and our children with this kind of gentle acceptance,
Yeah.
it creates a much more supportive and nurturing environment for growth.
It changes everything.
It does. It changes everything.
Now, before we wrap up today, I did want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, and that's assistive technology.
Yes.
Dr. Grossman, she dedicates a whole chapter to this.
She does.
And she really dives into how these tools can be so beneficial for individuals with ADHD and learning disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
Well, assistive technology has come a long way.
It really has.
And it can be truly transformative.
Okay.
We're talking about things like text-to-speech software for kids who struggle with reading, noise-canceling headphones to minimize distractions, even apps that help with organization and time management.
Right.
These tools can really level the playing field and empower individuals to work with their unique learning styles rather than against them.
That's fantastic. And it's amazing to see how technology can really be used in such a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have to wonder, and I'm sure some of our listeners are wondering the same thing, how do you find that balance between, utilizing this assistive technology and making sure that kids are still developing other essential skills? Because, at the end of the day, we want them to thrive.
Right.
In a world where technology is always changing.
Exactly. And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's something that Dr. Grossman grapples with in the book, too.
Okay.
And I think the key, that she suggests is to view assistive technology not as a crutch, but as a tool.
Okay.
As one of many tools in a well-stocked toolbox.
So it's not about relying on it solely, but it's a tool that can really help them in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
But how do we do that? How do we make sure that kids are thriving, with this technology and not becoming dependent on it?
Right. It's a conversation worth continuing, I think. And it starts with mindful engagement, I think. How can we encourage kids to use technology creatively, critically, purposefully?
Yeah.
How can we foster those essential human skills, communication, collaboration, empathy, alongside their digital fluency?
Right.
These are questions I think we should all be asking.
We should be, yeah, as we're navigating all of this.
Absolutely.
Because it is here to stay.
It is.
And I love what you said about, we have to model that as well.
Absolutely.
Because they see everything we're doing.
They do. They're little sponges. They're watching us all the time.
They are. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive today, what are some of the key takeaways you're hoping our listeners are walking away with?
Well, I think first and foremost, just to reiterate, you are not alone on this journey. Parenting a child with ADHD and learning differences, it has its challenges, but it is also incredibly rewarding.
It is.
And Dr. Grossman's book really does offer a wealth of practical strategies and insights that I think can make a real difference in your family's life.
Yeah, and it's written in a way that feels very approachable too.
Yes, absolutely. It does. And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
It's about finding what works best for your child and your family.
And being patient, right?
And being patient.
With yourself.
Yes, with yourself and the process. Because parenting, is a journey, not a destination.
It is.
There will be ups and downs, but with patience, compassion, and a willingness to kind of embrace those new approaches, you can create a really loving and supportive environment where your child can thrive.
Beautifully said. To everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of ADHD and learning differences. And remember, you've got this. And as always, keep sending in those amazing questions. We love hearing from you. And we'll catch you on the next episode of The Deep Dive.
Thank you for listening to the Mindfully Integrative Show with Dr. Damaris Grossman, family nurse practitioner. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not to substitute for professional medical advice, diagnose, or treat. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your healthcare routine. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you enjoyed our show, please support us by leaving a mindful review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite streaming platform. Interested in being a guest or more information? Email us at info@mindfullyintegrative.com. For resources mentioned in the show, visit our website at www.mindfullyintegrative.com. You can also connect mindfully with Dr. Damaris on her social media links found on the site. May your strength and peace guide you to find a mindful way every day. Namaste.